Hello and welcome to World of Tanks. I'm CabbageMechanic. With me as always is TragicLoss. We're here
Hello.
back to back. We were here yesterday. We're here today. We're making up for some lost time over the last few weeks.
We're trying to fix our chroma key a little bit.
We're trying to fix our chroma key a little bit. And of course, as always, we are on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook simultaneously. But I can't see Facebook chat right now. So hello to everyone on Facebook. Sorry I can't see what's going on over there. Shout out to Ortnoth and Jambi John in chat. We have Johnny Joe on YouTube talking about German heavies. Redbeard's already in Twitch chat talking about how Abby sucks. I get it. Cool. Well, good to see you guys. We have a lot of exciting stuff that we're going to get into as soon as my computer finishes rebooting after its crash.
Yeah. His computer keeps crashing. It's great. Not really.
So you guys are probably aware, we had the Lansen C come available yesterday on pre-sale. It's a brand new Tier 8 Swedish medium tank, and you can get it with a pretty badass Viking skin. Which we'll show off for you momentarily as soon as we resolve our continuing tech issues.
Yay for tech issues. Hi guys, how are you doing? Will there be an update for low-res PC such as my laptop? It's spazzing out when I play World of Tanks. Depending upon your settings, I would recommend you go into your settings and actually turn them down quite a bit, because, oh, I am facing the wrong way. I need to flip myself horizontally. That way we're actually looking at each other. But no, definitely, Cole McCullough asks us to fix matchmaking. So we actually posted very recently a video on what we are actively planning on doing with matchmaking currently. I highly recommend you check that video out. It's very informative. Otherwise, I'm going to go play a match because Cabbage can't stop making his computer not crash.
Yeah, it's definitely my fault.
It's your fault for overloading. Over what? Get over it. Is what I'm telling you to do.
I'm just tankless here.
Tankless?
Bad and tankless.
I'm so sorry. Oh my god. We're gonna... that instead.
I love the way you spelled dummy.
Thanks. The test account,
hey,
you know?
I know that guy.
I know a lot of these people.
I do all this.
Alrighty. There you go. Now you should be able to see that there.
Alright, chat on chat on chat.
It'll be real awkward for you to watch.
Super.
There you go. Is that good? Alright.
Yep. Oh, we got some turd polishing comments.
Alrighty.
You ever tried to polish turd? I don't recommend it. It's not structurally meant to be polished.
You know, there was somebody who actually polished one.
Oh,
and
good.
found out that you could polish a turd to a nice little sheen.
Well, they have more ability than I do. That specific skill.
Will the T50-2 ever be available again? I missed it by less than a year. I really want one. Not actually sure. Not actually sure. Maybe if the devs think that you guys are well deserving or something, they might allow us to put it on sale or something, but otherwise it was a reward tank for people who were around during the time that the T50-2 had its reign of terror, I suppose. They did it on Mythbusters.
It was a great tank.
Apparently they polished a turd on Mythbusters.
Ah, okay, good. I'm glad. That seems like science.
Yeah, definitely.
How's your game going?
My game. Okay. I'm not able to do much so far. Sometimes I kill 3 tanks, but system only shows 1. What do you mean?
There we
Are you killing allies? That would give you negative.
Someone said, can we add Doom graphics settings for Watt so I can play it on my TI-83? Interesting. Interesting.
Maybe World of Tanks splits.
I did play, back in the day, I played Wolfenstein on a TI-83. I haven't played Doom, though. I say it actually was a bit back in the day. It was like 15
No!
years ago.
There's an object over there now.
Watch. Who makes this game?
Who makes this game? He says. You're still saying no suspicious login attempts when I submit a ticket for my hacked. I mean,
oh, is that Luke from yesterday?
Yeah.
Did we ever get a look at his ticket?
We didn't. I don't think we got his username. Do you wanna send us your username so that way we can look into it a little bit?
Yeah, no suspicious logins would mean that they checked your IPs for every time you log into the game. We get it spits a line of information into a logbook that we can pull. It's pretty common. It happens in any online service or software that just shows the IP of where the login attempt is coming from. So when they're saying that there's no suspicious login attempts, it means they're not seeing any strange IPs appear in that log. So sometimes when this happens, we have people with siblings or spouses who get mad at
children.
them. Or children.
Oh, Purge 187.
I will send that to Lana and see what he can do about it. Because apparently I'm not going to be able to play the game today.
I took a shot at you. Getting down your infos or whatever. Yeah, there's that can. When Swedish mediums? I'm not sure.
Yeah, soon TM is the little answer on Swedish mediums. It should be the next major patch, but as always, software development is in flux. We got to make sure everything is working properly technically and balance-wise. And right now they're on super tests, so they're near the end of that cycle, but some stuff gets delayed in there. I don't think these will, though. I wonder if it just doesn't like
possible. Let's see, World of Premium Tanks. I mean, we are a company. We do try to.
We are a company.
Yeah, we are a company. We do need to make money somehow. Like we do try to release.
I don't know if I would lead with that. I would say, like, I think a lot of the reason you see a lot of premium tanks now is most of the people in the game have been playing for a real long time, and if they're playing lower tiers, they're grinding. And if you're grinding, it generally makes the most sense to maximize your income per game. And most people who have been around a while are going to be playing premium tanks to do that.
Y'all. Alrighty.
Especially, speaking of grinding, we have a ×3 weekend along with the best XP transition we've ever offered. I believe it's 1 gold for 40 XP converted.
Yes.
Which usually it's 1 to 35. So this weekend is
Tragic, you are suck.
Super XP madness.
Not much I could do there. I'm sorry.
We don't have any new information on the anonymizer from yesterday. So the stuff we said yesterday is going to be the same stuff we said today. There is an anonymizer planned for later this year. It's allegedly going to hide your nickname from other players and hide your stats from mods like XVM that collect them and display them to others. So we'll see. Oh, Executus is here. Hey, Executus.
Yeah. Mayuan says sometimes I kill 3 enemy tanks, but its system only show 1. Are you sure you're actually killing them? Are you sure you haven't? Are you sure you didn't leave them at like very little HP and someone else got it? Is Wargaming adding 2-factor authentication to the game launcher? I don't think so, but I would highly recommend if you share your PC, don't save your information, because people can definitely use that against you. So. Less arty per battle, please. More arty per battle, please.
Oh, good, we're getting both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you hadn't noticed, guys, sometimes we get very conflicting. Ooh. There we go. Lower myself a little bit, feel a little bit shorter. Sometimes we get conflicting feedback from players. Wow, why is the setting so low?
I turned it down so that it would tax that computer less.
Why?
You don't need to watch the video, you just need the chat.
Alright, well, let's pause it then. I just wanted to see my face in 1080p. Gosh. Why can't you just leave me alone?
I don't know.
Do you have chat mods? Like, moderators for chat? Yeah, absolutely. Alright. Your
I'm still having
computer is
technical
very
issues.
annoyed at you. Alright, we're gonna keep going. You can answer questions. I'll do the skilling part, I suppose.
The skilling?
Yeah,
the giving gold away?
The giving gold away.
Account.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. Why not? This is how we're gonna do it today.
Cryptic says on Twitch, yesterday on my T95 I hit a Link 6x6 going full speed and ammo racked it. Does this conclude that wheelie tanks are too fast to die? Wait, doesn't that contradict itself? Am I reading comprehension okay?
Wait,
you
where?
shot it and it died. And then you asked if it was... I'm confused, Cryptic. You're gonna have to help me out here. I'm too slow. Hey, Badger, how's it going?
I don't know.
Badger on Twitch showing up.
Too many people cheating. Please submit a support ticket if you believe that people are cheating.
We do, by the way, we ban people for cheating fairly regularly.
Yeah. We actually did it, I think, maybe last month was the big ban wave. Like, we do ban people in between the waves, but sometimes there's just, like, a big swath of just, like, man, these guys, they're just, like...
Well, part of it is we want to make sure that people who are getting banned are being detected using mods that are illegal, and we want to see the pattern of use to establish that we know it's this person on this computer using this legal modification.
Which is why you shouldn't share accounts.
Don't share accounts. We've had a lot of occasions where people who were sharing their account and not using illegal mods got their account banned without realizing that the person they were sharing an account with was using illegal mods.
Yes.
And if you check up the user agreement, you will find that you are responsible for any action taken by your account, whether or not it was you accessing the account at the time of the violation. The response to that, as we say over and over and over again, is please don't share your account.
Yeah.
It's just not smart.
Any future giveaways coming up? Possibly. Right now we're running sheriff accounts, and so if you guys want to drop into a match with me, you can attempt to kill me and get 250 gold per battle. Do you know why tanks go off on their own? Not sure what you mean by that, Michael Martin. If you mean why do people...
players go off on their own?
If you mean, like, why do players, like, go alone to certain areas? Not sure.
It's because they're not smart. And I can say that because I do it sometimes, and when I die I go, that wasn't smart.
Everybody does it often, sometimes. Tanks sucks. That's totally fine. If you're not into tanks, that's alright.
Why are you here?
Yeah.
Go do something else with your time.
Oh no. Man. Farmville rules. You're great, Jason. You're cool.
Hey, Farmville's rad. Although I'd be honest, I'd take Stardew.
That was super addictive.
I'd take Stardew Valley over Farmville.
Oh my god,
personally.
I love Stardew Valley.
Or what's that? Gravekeeper Tales? I can't remember. There's one where you play a gravekeeper and you collect dead people's meat and then you sell it to the townspeople. It's an amazing game.
Cannibalism.
No, it's called Graveyard Keeper.
That is literally called cannibalism.
Somebody in chat knows what I'm talking about.
Cannibalism. Anyways, is the E100 really that good? The E100 is actually probably getting a rework because it's not performing quite up to par.
The E100 is so good it's getting buffed.
So good it's getting buffed.
Bob Russell on Facebook says, "Can you please prevent idiots from playing?"
Not really.
We do our best with the UI.
We do our best to help people. You have to be
a pretty smart cookie to figure out the World of Tanks UI and get into the game. So that's the barrier.
Oh, okay, yeah. He's saying that his tank doesn't go where he wants it to go. That's probably lag.
My World of Tanks.exe isn't going where I want it to go. That does sound like a lag issue. It sounds like you're having some pretty severe packet loss if it's like stuttering and rubber banding across the screen.
How about only 1 tier different battles? Many times I'm put into that. So we are working on reworking Matchmaker, so please be patient for the changes that will come. One of the biggest changes is reworking the format in which World of Tanks matchmaking works, and so it'll not just try to get 357, which is super annoying, it will also try to further expand that. That way people are getting bottom tier a lot less, so you shouldn't be getting those like tier 10 matches in your tier 8s. So
yep. Dan on Facebook says the game is rigged. It's not. Sorry to disappoint. Yeah. I know it can certainly feel that way sometimes because there are random elements. I certainly feel like it's a conspiracy against me at times, but it's the hard truth is it's not in any fashion. All the random elements are random, and you will occasionally have runs of bad time. I did have a question here I wanted to answer that I wanted to respond to.
Why can't I ping the mini-map? Hold shift and click. Sorry, hold control and then click.
Matthew on Facebook says, greetings from flooded Nebraska. Oh man, hope everything is alright for you and yours.
I'm glad you have internet, actually.
Yeah,
my uncle actually lived in Nebraska. He was affected by the heavy flooding, so he's actually planning on moving out of Nebraska. So
we're not trying to ignore any comments, guys, but we do have, again, we say this a lot, we stream to 3 different platforms at once, and we have 3 different platforms chat getting spit out at us at once.
Yes.
So we can't catch everything that goes by, so we will do our best.
Yeah. We have at least 172 people in the Facebook chat, as far as I can read, unless that changed and it doesn't update, if video's paused, which would actually...
Cryptic asks if patch 1.5 will make everyone a little happier. I hope so. I don't have the final details on the patch yet, but as we get a little closer, maybe I can leak a little more. We have... So somebody asked if there was a mode where they could go onto a map by themselves. Did you just team kill someone?
No, I just accidentally shot our object because the type 5 by dispersion and the type 5... Somehow I missed the big gigantic barn of a tank and shot my ally. So
great, well done.
It's fantastic. I love it.
So anyway, the reason that you can't, there is no mode where you can go into a map by yourself. You have to have a training room, and I think you have to have at least one other person to launch a training room. That is a bit archaic. The reason that it is that way is the game is hard-coded to only work on the server. You cannot launch an offline arena. And in order to launch an arena, you got to have 2 people. And one of the reasons that the game is set up that way is the server technical jargon. Each arena produced, whether it's a training room or an actual battle or a grand battle or a frontline or a soccer mode during the summer, each arena takes up a slot on the server's total arenas, and we have a maximum total arenas that the software can handle, the hardware can handle. So in order to prevent a mass spam of arenas, you can't set up one by yourself. That's why you can't do it. Yes. Ideally, we would have a single player solution at some point that allows you to launch it in an offline session that only you can access. But at this time, it's not possible. Kyler says, "What is your opinion on all the immature people sending messages to like the all too common kill yourself that everyone gets once?" Kyler, my honest response is I laugh at it. Because to me, if someone is sad and angry enough to, project that onto someone else, then well, I guess that's because I'm a mean person. And if they're that sad and that angry in their own life, like I know that I have nothing to worry about because clearly they have their own problems they're working through. I don't take it personally at all. You have to be a pretty pathetic person to go online and slam people with insults and slurs and stuff and think you're doing anything but embarrassing yourself.
Will you ever have the white tiger mode like in the betas? What? White tiger mode? I don't know. I don't even know about that. What is that?
I don't know. Best Viewed with Cable on YouTube says, "I want you to know I broke all my fingers changing my tire at 80 kilometers an hour. Those lug nuts are tight. So much for realism."
Well, old tanks that used to be awesome are being left behind by new tanks. We are doing an overall rebalance of all tanks across the tiers, so there you go. Premium rounds are being reworked in the future, Jeff Olson, and 3 tiers is too many. From what we have learned from a lot of players submitting feedback, in general, the idea about current matchmaker is we need to, for one, make it so you guys aren't getting tier 10 games so often. You're in your tier 8. As you can see, I actually got pretty lucky, and this is an all tier 8 match. But in general, we do want to make sure that you guys are enjoying the game, and getting put into 357 all the time at bottom tier isn't fun, so we are expanding matchmakers' capabilities, so.
Lazy Paw on Twitch asks, how long does it take to get unblue, or how do I find out how long it will take to go away? The short answer is there is no way for you to immediately see. There's an algorithm, or that might even be the right term, there's a ratio that is being calculated behind the scenes based on your recent damage and longer term damage to enemies versus your recent damage to allies. The best way to get rid of blue is to play games and deal damage to enemies without dealing damage to allies. The better you do at that, the sooner you will remove blue status, because the ratio will cross the threshold where you're free.
I don't know why that ELC. Someone was asking, is low-key mad over a transaction dispute? So one of the things about World of Tanks is if you make a credit card transaction or whatever, and the transaction gets canceled, essentially that means you've canceled the payment completely. Why am I the only one who is seeing this thing? Get that one. But essentially, if the transaction was canceled, we need that money. If you purchase something, we need that money. And so the fact that, like, if the transaction was canceled, then there's technically a debt on your account. Wow. Stop it. Wait.
David on YouTube says, hello from Canada. Hello, David. Hope you're well.
Hello.
What is your opinion on the AMX-40? I once pinged 10,000 in one match with 11 kills. I got 17 hate messages in that. Are you blocked 10,000 damage in the duck? Is that what you're saying? That's amazing. I also see that your name is Kyler in the Quack Train, so I appreciate the duck reference. Michael Loven somewhere is smiling. So we have some questions about RD. I see Jeff in Facebook chats talking about it now too. I recommend going. We released the article in the video that I talked about yesterday. The short explanation is that so the stun mechanics are being changed to be give you a little bit more diminishing returns. So it's harder to perma-stun people and for you to get perma-stunned in turn. It's also going to be reducing a little bit of the splash damage from some of those higher tier RDs that have the huge splash ranges. You're not going to get barely touched by a CGC shot and take really 300 damage in a full duration stun anymore. I do recommend, if you want to get the details, to go to check out the article on worldoftanks.com/news, or check out, and I believe that has all the information.
Yes, it does. There's also a video if you want a essentially condensed version of that. Someone's so Dan Irish, RNG is horrid. Shells don't go anywhere near where you aim. If the other team is winning, you will get hit by all of theirs, and all will open you, and all will pen you. Like, that's just kind of how RNG is sometimes. Like, over the course of time, statistically, you will land a decent amount of shots, but there are times where you get bad RNG, and that's literally just random. Like, we don't rig it. There's no way of, you know, we don't forcefully change RNG so that way you're missing shots and they're penning shots, if that makes sense.
So Bravo Alpha 6 Actual on Twitch says, what about the economics? It's going to be harder
your comment, Chris Sharp.
I'll try and catch it in a second. What about the economics? It's going to be harder to grind the next level of RD. Oh, someone's just spamming the angry emoji.
Yeah, it's just one person. That's
oh well. So that might be the case, Bravo. I would say that we'll need to get closer to a live version of these changes to know if that's going to have a big impact, and if it has an impact big enough that the change the missions will need to be changed to accommodate. But if it, as we've done with the first campaign for the new personal missions, where we have altered some of the ones that prove to be too difficult, if the missions do become more difficult, and we see the data that shows that, we'll make changes to the missions to accommodate the changes.
So
if that makes sense.
So guys, when it comes to RNG, one of the reasons why RNG exists is partially because it kind of defeats aimbots. It makes them less effective. The other thing is, if you made shots go exact, so RNG kind of prevents.
Okay, I don't think that was a designed.
It wasn't designed. It doesn't. It's not. We don't design the game
to accommodate for aimbots.
It's not. It's not designed that way. But it kind of helps defeat the idea of aimbots. The other thing is,
it's a smaller advantage.
Yeah,
sure.
But if your shots went exactly where you aimed every single time, for one, Artie would be more broken, and then the other thing is people would literally sit across the map from each other and just shoot at weak points, and people would make mods where you could zoom in all the way onto someone's lower plate, so you would have like matches where people are just sitting across the map and like firing at each other. It's not fun.
So the RNG stuff, I mean, the first off is you have to understand the way the RNG is in the game currently is hard-coded. The odds of it changing are real low. I mean, significant parts of the base game would have to be completely rebuilt to accommodate that to begin with. And the other part is like those were the game is as a whole balanced around that design choice, which I understand frustrates some people. I have times where I get frustrated by it. I get times where hilarious stuff happens and I laugh about it. That's sort of part of the intent. One of the other reasons, though, is that in real life there was to some extent some RNG between tank rounds, especially for the late war Germans who were dealing with a lot of industrial sabotage, and the Soviets who just in general produce Soviet things. Their shell-to-shell like charge and machining wasn't as reliable, so there was actually real-life RNG from shell to shell, where every shell is not going to fire exactly like the one before it. Those of you who might be involved in the reloading of your own cartridges for rifles or whatever are probably aware of that. You have to follow a very exact process to get consistent performance. And when you're mass-producing tank shells, you know, for thousands and thousands and thousands of tanks across an entire war effort, it's really hard to do that. So to some extent, RNG is actually quite realistic. Let's see.
I don't know why that guy stayed there. I just decided, oh, I'm just gonna sit in this little nice arty protected
Luke
place.
said, lol, that just isn't true at all. I'd love to... Oh, hey, Major Rampage popped in. How's it going, Rampage?
Hey, what's up, Rampage?
Hope
How
you're
are
well.
you? Hopefully you're doing quite well.
Yeah, Bravo says, I think RNG is okay, but the current spread is too far. That I can see the intent behind that.
The frustration.
And especially for the hyper-competitive players, I think it's frustrating, because once you've maximized the ways to play the game efficiently, that 25% RNG only acts as a method of frustration for you.
Yeah.
Because it reduces the skill gap, or it has the potential at least to reduce the skill gap between you and other people. And I do understand that frustration. That's totally valid.
Artie was not happy with me. Oh, Artie is also aiming at me because I'm on a sheriff account. That's why. I forgot I was running a sheriff account.
TJ says on Facebook is asking, is the Lance and Sea being added to the tech tree in-game so we can buy it with gold? At this time, no, TJ. It's only going to be available in the premium shop. That might happen in the future, but I'm fairly certain, unless I'm totally wrong on that.
Wait, on what?
Can you buy? It won't be added to the tech tree, but it might be available in the in-game shop at some point.
Yeah, I do believe we rotate tanks that are available to be purchased through the game occasionally, but
yeah. Luke says these maps aren't several miles. You are shooting at tanks in view ranges. Did we say the maps were several miles? I mean, a lot of changes have been made to the game
in the open, Mary.
To accommodate the size of the maps.
There were other tanks there too.
For example, the specific gravity applied to the artillery shells is totally different because in real life, an SPG, especially the more modern ones in our game, can shoot 60 kilometers, and our largest map is like the frontline map at like 9 square kilometers, right? So obviously there have been some accommodations made for the scale of the game, yes.
What is the best place for viewing your stream? Anywhere you feel comfortable. And Mary Banks says a petition will be on the way about the arty changes. Guys, they haven't even hit super test. They're not. They're just. I believe they're just barely being tested now. Even if they are,
yeah.
like, they're not definitive. They are not definitely coming to the game as is. So please give it some time before you know, you go all petition-y on us.
Yeah.
Definitely feel free to submit as much feedback as you think. Don't just say fix arty, just give us constructive feedback, what you think we could do to change it in a better way or whatnot, so...
Yeah. So Luke came back and said, you said the tank shells can be inaccurate, not at 800 meters. First off, yes, like a T-34 shell from World War II absolutely could be inaccurate at 800 meters, I assure you. I can send you some accounts.
Do you want to do accountings, by the way?
If I...
I mean,
I can't
if you can't get into battle, that's fine, but if you want to do countings,
but to your point, yes, we have made some changes, like, there other things have been scaled to the game's maps as well. I mentioned artillery shells and the specific gravity applied to them. Vision certainly is one thing that's been scaled to the game maps to create a, you know, some play and counterplay abilities between scout tanks and tank destroyers and tanks hiding in cover and all that stuff. All of those things have been balanced for the size of maps that World of Tanks plays on.
Also, guys, we do have a lot of questions, so if we miss yours, just post it again. We are trying to get through all of them, but there are a lot of questions that are happening. How much delay is on your stream? Maybe about 10 seconds or less. Not 100% sure.
I'm still having technical issues.
That's totally fine. Don't worry about it.
Well, I'm not going to stop worrying about it.
Frontline aiming bug. We are aware of it. We're not sure when it
actually, well, I do. I have an update on that.
Oh, hey, there we go.
According to the bug report that we have filed, it has been fixed. That fix is being applied to the next major patch, which, so, fingers crossed, it should be implemented before Frontline Episode 3. But what we're talking about now is the aiming bug in Frontline. If you aim at a tank on a ridgeline or whatever, sometimes your reticle will bounce and go higher. Thank you guys so much for submitting. A lot of you who watched the stream submitted evidence to our customer support team, replays and animations and such, and we were able to use that evidence to send it to the developers in a bug report. Believe they've isolated the issue and created a fix, and it's going to be in the next game, or in the game soon.
Yeah. When will the German Scorpion come back to the premium shop? I mean, it's on rotation. It'll come back eventually.
Yeah, I'm not sure at this time.
Most questions about premium tanks, obviously, that aren't, like, super restricted, it will come back eventually. They're just on a rotation.
I don't think it's coming up soon. I would let you know if I did, but it will definitely come back around for sure. There are going to be some interesting tanks for sale in April, so keep an eye out.
Are disappearing shots a part of RNG? Most of the time that we've, or rather, support has looked at quote-unquote ghost shells, they tend to be packet loss or slight lag. Like, as you can see up in the top left-hand corner, I do get a little bit of discrepancy. It does jump into the red. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have bad internet. It's just sometimes it jumps, and those jumps are usually what causes discrepancy.
Yeah.
If you still believe that there is a ghost shell, definitely submit a ticket, and our support team will look into it.
So one of the cool things about World of Tanks, and one of the reasons that we talk about it being hard to hack, not that there aren't illegal modifications out there, but there's, for example, if you've ever played Counter-Strike, back in the days in Counter-Strike, you'd see a lot of people running like speed hacks and aim hacks. So they have people running around the map at light speed, instantly headshotting people. That kind of stuff is totally not possible in World of Tanks. And the reason it's not possible is because all of that stuff is handled purely server side. One of the downsides of having all of that stuff purely server side is that if you have some packet loss between you and the server, you can have a situation where a tank that you see in a spot and aim for and shoot, by the time the shell crosses the tank's path, the tank on the server might actually be somewhere else, but your shell tracer is specific to your perspective, so you might see it go through a tank that is no longer there, or the server is saying it's not there. It's fairly rare, but it does happen, and usually when we have accounts of ghost shells, we find that this is the case. And that your for whatever reason, your connection didn't get the packet that updated where that tank was on the map, and you had a shell pass through essentially a graphics glitch.
Alrighty, I am backing up because I'm getting already.
Yeah, Cryptic is talking about it now in Twitch chat. What you see in the game is never what the server sees. If you guys go into your settings and enable the server-side reticle, which I recommend you do, you'll notice that as well.
Let's see. Sorry for my English, I'm from Europe. Dude, your English is better than any of our languages that might be from the European region. Wow!
We had a meeting with some of our friends in Minsk on Monday, and they apologized for their poor English, and we made the point that their English was much better than our Russian, which
that was a nice jump.
It is.
Oh, that's funny.
Porphyry asks, can ghost shells, especially premium shells, be reimbursed? Unfortunately, I mean,
can't really
I want to say yes, because it would be great if that was the case. Obviously, it's not your fault that packet loss happened. At the same time, it would be impossible for us to track that and effectively reimburse that. So if it's happening that much that you feel like you need to be reimbursed, submit a support ticket. Maybe we can figure something out with your connection.
What map am I on? Prokhorov.
But did you not tell? Here we go.
It's definitely one of the more campy maps.
Alright. A lot of stuff coming in. Mary says, I acknowledge there was a storm about Sir Foch some time back, but he never did less have a point about the later premium tanks. Yeah, that was around the time of the Chrysler and the Defender coming out back to back. Could love for the general MUs being AP or HE rather than APC or Heat, but if the premium tanks of later dates had thinner armor, it would be more legit to fire also AP and HE. Yes? I'm not sure where you're going with that, Mary. Sorry. I guess you're asking for lighter armor on the newer premium tanks.
I have a real question.
Oh boy.
Alright, we're waiting for it.
How well do you know Russian? Not well at all.
Spasibo. Thanks.
Yeah, and I also mispronounced that.
Stop shooting gold, get rid of gold altogether. We are trying to rework it. There are different ways that we're trying to figure out how to rework it without just completely removing it. It's one of the reasons why we took out the option of purchasing premium rounds with gold. So we are working on reworking that. So
Todd asks, why do Europe and CIS have minimum 50 matches for monthly ratings, whereas APAC and NA have 30? Short answer, Todd, there's a lot more players on the EU and CIS servers. So you have to have a larger sample size to get an accurate rating on the larger population of those servers.
Also, if you notice, I'm only playing heavy tanks because I suck at every other tank. Actually, I could play the T30.
Luke says we need premium shells to make money. It's funny that you say that, Luke, because if I showed you the percentage of revenue that comes from premium shells, you would find that that's not the case. It's actually I don't even believe it makes a full percent. So it's never something in the game that we've made a lot of money from, and that's part of the reason it's being changed, frankly. One of the advantages you could have in the game is you could buy lots of premium shells if you spent money on the game and then bought them with gold or converted that gold to credits. You can still do that. So you can definitely get an advantage that way, but it's really not a considerable amount of income for us.
When will there be cross-platform play? There will never be, because they are completely different games in terms of console versus PC. As you know, there are a lot of tanks that are on PC that aren't on console, same vice versa. I'm gonna go... Sorry. How do you say? is this game pay to win? So there are a lot of, well, actually he asked you to answer.
That was Ian on Facebook.
Yes.
It's a complicated question, Ian. I've heard valid arguments, I think, to both sides.
Yeah.
I think the consensus from most people is that the game is pay to an advance, and at certain times pay for an advantage. There are some premium tanks that, frankly, are better than their texture alternatives. So in that sense, you can buy an advantage by buying those tanks. You can afford more premium shells if you spend money on the game and convert that to credits and spend them on premium shells. That's not going to be as big of an advantage after the premium shell change, but certainly for the time it has been.
Yeah.
As far as I think the biggest thing is if you buy premium tanks and you spend money on gold to convert XP, you can avoid playing stock tanks, which is what I do. Just to be completely honest, if you avoid playing stock tanks, in that sense, you are it's not pay to win. It's you probably have better stats because you never had to do the stock Carnarvon grind, because you skip straight to the fully equipped Carnarvon with your premium tank free XP that you converted over. So I would say I think pay to win is a stretch. Spending money on this game is not going to make you a good player.
Yeah.
It's not going to help you win matches. However, it is possible and probable that you will have better stats, and you're going to avoid a lot of the grind if you do spend money. And that's my frank analysis. I'm being as honest as possible. I hope you guys appreciate that.
I'm gonna die. Yeah, folk. That's fine. Oh no! I survived, but I'm probably gonna get RD'd. Oh, you probably shouldn't have sat behind me. Everyone was aiming this way. Ooh, he got aim wrecked. Ooh, I almost died. I'm definitely gonna get RD'd.
Craig on Facebook is asking a question for the second time, so I'm gonna try and catch it here.
Yep.
Can you make it so we can buy any tank in the premium shop with gold? Sometimes I buy a big gold package and see a cool tank I'd like a week or so later. It'd be nice if I could spend my gold on them. So, Craig, we are trying to expand your opportunities with gold. For example, in last December, the Advent Calendar, all of the deals in the Advent Calendar except the very last one were available for gold, which is the first time we've ever offered that. As far as will everything always be immediately available for gold? At this time, the the monetization nerds say probably not, no. But we have as recently as the last few months been dramatically expanding what you can buy with gold, and hopefully that will continue to expand in the future.
So the difference between situational awareness and recon, situational awareness just increases your maximum view range. Let me see if I can recon. What?
The crew skill?
Yeah. And I don't have any tanks that have like bad crews. I can't really look at the
Luke asks, can you explain why the red tank outline is used? That's actually a good question, Luke. I'd have to talk to some of the original designers to get a full breakdown.
View it.
So this is part speculation, part real things I have heard from talking to designers. Part of it is we built the game to accommodate the specific vision and cover system that allows you, very intentionally allows you to use a bush position to scout and then back up so that the bush becomes solid again and then shoot through it. That was an intentional choice to allow people to use bushes defensively, and in order to make that work, having the red outline on tanks you can see helps a lot.
So
that's my reason.
I'm gonna relay what Cryptic Shock said. Recon gives you a 20% boost to a broken viewport and only 2% max view range, and situational awareness is just a flat 3% max.
Thank you,
so
Cryptic.
There you go. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm gonna play the Zoom Turtle.
Ruben asks, are you guys going to make premium accounts more flexible in the sense that you can pause it or something? Ruben, at this time, I don't think that is going to happen in the immediate future. However, there has been a lot of talk about adding more features to the premium account, and that is definitely one of the ones being discussed. So it's not out of the question for the future.
Same thing with boosters as well.
Oh yeah, we recently had in the AMA last week, someone brought up, I wish boosters were for a set amount of games instead of a set amount of time. That is something that the devs have heard of and are considering. But any change in that is going to be longer term, not shorter term.
Can Artie be more effective on light tanks? Probably not. Probably
if you
not.
can hit them.
Yeah, honestly.
For Free says, not being negative, but much of the community, especially new players, feel that spending money on this game is the only way to get ahead, simply because they have no understanding on how much of the interface and mechanics actually work. That's true to an extent. I would say, especially for a new player, when you're really looking at that first big grind, and it looks like Half Dome, or El Capitan, the El Capitan wall in front of you, and you have to climb this massive rock wall to get anywhere, get that first tier 8, get that first tier 10, be able to afford to play your higher tier tanks, because a lot of them lose money. I would say that I totally understand that perspective, and I think that you will probably have a more convenient experience if you do spend some money. But what For Free said is true in the sense that, again, it's not going to help you win, and it's not going to make you a better player.
Yeah, skill overall just will make you obviously a better player. Ooh, someone's helping push me. But yeah.
Hyper Turtle says you need a jar for Cabbage to add $1 every time he breaks something. Actually, Domo is currently the king of breaking things at the office.
He really is. Oh man. Josh, we're not trying to ignore questions. We just have a million questions scrolling by, and we can't get to every single one of them immediately. I'm sorry if you think we're ignoring you. We're literally not trying to.
I'll try and catch you, Josh. I'm scrolling up looking. Have either of you ever been on a real tank, I think, was his question?
I
actually have a picture of you standing on a real tank.
In
Minnesota.
I've stood on a real tank. I've not ridden in a tank, unfortunately.
Yeah, I actually we had a player event a few years ago in Kasota, Minnesota, at the Drive a Tank facility there, and we rented out their M4 Sherman and a APC, and we let players take rides in them all day. And both of us were at that event working it, and neither of us got to ride in the Sherman.
Yeah.
But them's the breaks.
There was like 800
hopefully
people.
Somebody in chat right now was there and did get to ride in the Sherman and can talk about how cool it was. Hey, Axel's on. How's it going, Axel? Let's see. Chris says, will you ever be able to get rid of the game of illegal modifications for good? I've seen videos of people using them, and it makes me angry. Yeah, I hear you, Chris.
We're also angry.
As far as getting rid of them entirely, there's almost always going to be a way for people to, if we get rid of one, another one will sprout up. What we can do is consistently ban people for using them, and we do. Since we started the fair play policy, which I recommend you can search our news portal for, we usually about once a quarter we do a big ban wave, and we catch lots of people using illegal mods. We've banned thousands of people who have been using illegal mods since the start. And we are constantly on the lookout for new ones coming out so that we can figure out how to detect them and figure out how to ban them. So I actually think, compared to where we were 2 years ago before the fair play policy, I would say cheating or use of illegal mods is really, because, like, as I mentioned earlier in the Counter-Strike ramble, it's totally, like, cheating in World of Tanks is a totally different level compared to a game like a first-person shooter like Counter-Strike. But it's gone from slim to extremely low. The amount of people cheating is extremely low.
Yeah. You get a small amount of gold for shooting planes down overhead. Those things don't actually have models, unfortunately.
Bravo says, I have a problem with the fair play policy. I got a ban for using mods, and I use a vanilla client, and no, I don't let anyone else use my system. Bravo, I'd be happy to look into that and talk to our cheat team about it. They can give me an exact record of what you were banned for, so we could figure it out. Striker asks, are you two devs or CCs? Well, we're neither. We're both. We work in the community team for World of Tanks. So we work in publishing, not development.
You can look at our name.
If you're familiar with most game development, you have development teams, publishing teams. Sometimes they're the same company. Sometimes you have a different developer and a different publisher. In this case, Wargaming has publishing and development for World of Tanks all under one roof, and we are in publishing.
Guys, we literally have what we are underneath our faces. It says underneath our face.
Global asks, what data have you compiled for what wheeled vehicles come next? Still collecting, Global. I don't have a final report on that or anything. Yeah, Bravo, I hear you. So Bravo said he sent in a ticket and all I got back was a cut and paste bunch of garbage. Keep in mind that if we ban 1,200 people for cheating, we're going to get 1,100 tickets. from people saying, "I know I wasn't cheating."
Yeah.
So yeah, unfortunately, some level of cut and paste is necessary to process all of those. Craig says, "Why not just remove all mods? Would be a lot easier to cut down legal mods." There's a lot of useful mods out there, and it becomes a little more complicated than simply just getting rid of all of them. I'll talk more about that at a later time, I think. I want to see if I can get someone to come on stream with us and maybe talk about that subject.
Also, guys, repeating, we have a million questions. Please be patient. There's like a lot of you asking a lot of different questions. Some of them require lengthy explanations as to what's going on, so we appreciate your patience. Please do just repost your question. We will get to it as soon as we can. Some we answer quickly in between, and then some we need to expand on it a little bit. Are you saying you can't prove that they cheat? No, we can definitely look into a lot of different 100%, things.
Yeah. And that one of the things I talked about earlier with how we ban cheaters, no, like, people don't get banned unless the record is very firm. Usually when someone who definitely never used illegal mods gets banned, it's because they shared their account with someone who did.
Stop ignoring me, says Bob Davis. Hi, Bob.
Sorry, Bob. I think he was joking.
Yeah.
I hope you're well, Bob. Mark says, "Are we able to expand the platoon tiers? This has limited gameplay." I hear you on that, Mark. One of the reasons that we stopped allowing different tier platoons is just because it screws up Matchmaker, and people abuse it.
That's one of the reasons why we also removed all chat, is because people abused it.
It's harder to for the Matchmaker to process platoons if they have to account for different tiers. And yeah, and fail platoons, many of you are probably familiar with that term. You have people bringing tier 1s into tier 10 matches just to troll. It just wasn't very productive or good for anyone. No one was actually enjoying it. Christian on Facebook says, "Any high tier changes like heavy tanks that aren't super heavies? My IS-4 feels like it's out of the meta because of its weak spots and super heavies." So Christian, you'll be happy to hear that the IS-4 is one of several tanks that has actually been already picked out for a buff. It's in the roadmap to be buffed among a selection of other tier 10s that are underperforming. Well, I'm going to avoid dropping the list because we usually do it several times a stream, but the IS-4 is one of them.
E100, Leopard 1, STB1, Cranbang, and...
Did you mean Cranbang?
Cranbang. Are all on that list.
Luke says, "I loved all chat, but in a person who can handle... I'm a person who can handle a little crap talk." So all chat wasn't all chat was specifically removed because of people giving away enemy team positions.
Yeah. Which we actually discussed an easy way to resolve that is making it
we have a plan.
Dead people have a different chat. Essentially.
Yeah.
That way they can't give away positions, but you can still trash talk or whatever.
The problem is, in order to do that, the entire chat system has to be rebuilt.
Yeah.
So
if you guys remember the chat system being down, yeah, we have to fix that, rework it, and then add that feature in. So it'll take a little while before that would be possible, but we would also love to have all chat. I really want to trash talk my friends in game, so... Just saying.
Bjorn asks, "Is there an ETA on the new Swedish mediums?" Soon TM is unfortunately the best I can do you. I believe it will be the next major patch, but I don't have a timeline that I can share on that yet. But it should definitely be within the next 2 months. That's gonna be wrong. Something horrible is gonna happen.
Something horrible always happens.
It should be within the next 2 months. They're very close to the end of the development cycle. Johnny Joe asks, "Can we please have friendly fire removed from randoms? You guys already have it in Frontlines." Johnny, that does appear to be the plan at this time, as many of you saw in the teaser video we dropped last December. It does look like we are ultimately going to switch to a no team damage
Any
system.
idea when Wargaming will fix this chat bug that's been there for like years? Like we said, chat is a entire monster to deal with on its own. We are a more than 5-year-old game essentially, and sometimes things that were built a really long time ago don't work super well nowadays, so It'll be a little while. But yeah. Cryptic Shock says TM stands for tomorrow. No.
No, it does not. Stop trolling me, Cryptic.
Oh, For Free is offering to platoon up.
Oh yeah, you should platoon with him since I can't play.
Because he can help carry me while I answer important questions, like, are we removing artillery? Any plans to add infantry to battle? No, we are not going to add real people to the battle. The reason why we won't do that is because our game is PG-13, if you hadn't noticed. All of our,
or Peggy 12, I think.
Yeah, Peggy 12. Essentially, we can't put real people in because that would turn it into, essentially, possibly a rated M game because you are killing real people, whereas tanks don't have people in them, guys. They're just driven by robots. That's right.
Benton on YouTube asks, is there a chance to be able to get the progress of our Xbox account on PC? Totally switch over. I don't play Xbox and have 6+ user progress money. Unfortunately, Benton, that is not possible. They are two completely different games with two completely different backends run by two completely different development and publishing teams. So they're, for all intents and purposes, they're called World of Tanks. They are World of Tanks. They share a lot of content, but despite that, they're entirely separate games.
Like, genuinely entirely separate. They don't even have the same development team. I don't know if you actually said that.
Yeah, Floofy Sniper Ducko says Cabbage is tragically at a loss as a mechanic. At least as an IT guy right now, I'm certainly having some issues.
Yeah, your PC does not want to handle anything.
Pavalos? I'm trying to pronounce your name right on YouTube. Pavalos, I believe. How much should I pay so I would be transferred to the European server? At this time, server transfers aren't available. We've talked about this a lot on stream, but just to fill you in real quick, ultimately we are looking at changing,
yes, Joseph Emery,
creating a technical solution to allow people to play on different servers or move to different servers. At this time, it's very technically challenging to do so, and at this time, it's not possible. Okay. Anthony on Facebook says, can you add a sync drop button mode to help with sync dropping?
What do you mean sync dropping? With us or with other people in platoons? Because if so, there's a reason why Q is pretty random. Don't want super platoons of 3 on 1.
Let's see. Wow. Matthew says, could there ever be a team deal with World of Tanks, World of Warplanes, and World of Warships that we could do a shared battle with everyone? So Matthew, there was a time in the World of Tanks development when that was the plan. And that's where a lot of people have heard it in the past, or maybe you just thought it would be cool, I don't know. But and the short answer is, after all those games were developed and different development teams worked on them, and they evolved over time, sane people realized that that was never going to happen because there's too many differences between the games. That doesn't mean that Wargaming will never have a game with ships, tanks, and planes, or various other combined arms on the same battlefield, but that will be, would be, could be, should be an entirely separate game. So it won't happen with the current World of Tanks, the current World of Warships, the current World of Warplanes. They're just too far apart.
Essentially, your chance of earning a blueprint goes down every single time you play a battle, and you don't accrue any damage points or anything from a friendly, or to a friend, rather. Don't damage your teammates, guys.
Texas River Legends on YouTube says, I was wondering if there's a way I can create a new account so that I can start over. I don't want to lose my standard account though. Yes, you could create another account with a different email and use that account without losing your old one. So you would have to have another email address, because I believe you can only have one email address, or an email address attached to one account.
Unless it's different servers.
Unless it's on like EU or EU and APAC, you can use the same email in that case. Hey, Frank's here. How's it going, Frank? World of Trains for Sophie. So you can create another account. We do officially tell players that you're not supposed to have alternate accounts. And the reason that is for people evading bans. People get banned for being, you know, mean people. assholes. They get banned for being assholes.
Aw.
And then they create a new account and they evade the ban, and that's where you're not allowed to do that. You're going to get in big trouble if you do that. But yeah, if you just want to start over, you couldn't create another account with another email.
Let's talk about blueprints. Essentially, over the course of all of your battles, you will slowly accrue a you have random chances at accruing a blueprint. Blueprints will essentially give you a discount on your tanks. So if I go to my tech tree and I go to blueprints, you will see, well, for one, that I own all of the tanks. Also, you'll see in the top left or top right hand corner, I know, right, that I have universal blueprints and nation fragments. Sorry, fragments. These are fragments. And essentially, because I have all of the tanks, all of the blueprints that I earn turn into fragments. These fragments can be used to turn into blueprints for specific tanks. There are different combinations for each tier. If you go to the article, you can actually look up on it. I can actually put that up for you guys. Apparently, my Google Chrome doesn't like me, so it's not wanting to pop up, but it's pretty simple. Essentially, get random chances, and as you can see, I'm 4 out of 5, or almost 4 out of 5, and my next one, and then the 5th one is a bigger chance at bigger rewards.
Yeah, so Bill on Facebook has a bit of a long story here that is very intriguing. A player named Zombie Slayer was in a match with his Waffle E100. He shot a tank 27 times, hit it 26 times, and penned it once. He talked about it in forums, and someone from World of Tanks called him a liar. He posted the video of the match. In a short time, it had over 20,000 views. World of Tanks took the video down and banned him from the forums. Why was the video taken down, and why was that player banned?
YouTube? Okay, if you posted on YouTube, you could probably find it, and that would be interesting. I have
so many questions, Bill.
Yeah.
First one is, if he had the Waffle E100, this happened at least 2.5 years ago.
I think maybe 3
years ago. So I don't know. I've never heard of this incident. I've never heard of this video. But I would be happy to look into it if you can send any information our way.
Anthony Ashbeck, we actually want to prevent that. We don't want super platoons of clans going into battle.
But I'm not aware of us ever banning someone from the forums for posting a video that we didn't like. Well, at least one that was relevant to gameplay. We've certainly banned people for posting videos that were very inappropriate, but nothing related to gameplay. So I've never heard about that. I would be happy to look into it if you can send me some more info. I'm a little suspicious. I'm not even sure what we would be angry about.
Yeah. You could probably look it up on YouTube. Like, if you can't post, I don't think you can post a video straight onto the forums. You actually have to have a hosting site. So if they post it on like YouTube or like Vimeo, you might be able to look it up. If you find it, send it to us over the forums. Our username is underneath our faces. And also see what our job title is underneath our faces. So you guys will be able to message us over the forums if you find that video. Just find the video, send it to us, and we can look at it.
Yep. Roro on YouTube asking if we've seen the the Quickie Baby video regarding Artie.
I actually haven't.
I haven't watched it either. I will watch it at some point, Roro, but I haven't watched it yet.
Chip, so I know we pushed for that a while back, the Surf Ocean incident, but we have not ever done a copyright violation on a YouTuber.
So acknowledging the Surf Ocean incident where an employee did threaten that exact thing, we never actually did it then, and we have not done it anywhere else.
Yeah.
We have never filed a copyright violation to get a video that we didn't like that showed existing game footage removed from YouTube.
Luffy is telling me not to screw up because my boss is to my right. Yeah, well, he also just has the 907 codes. I think Big Brother actually passed them on to CabbageMechanic.
Okay.
So if you can message him in-game or on the forums about 907 codes.
Not sure what I did to deserve that.
I know he has a stack of them on his desk. Did you guys cover the Artie changes yet? If so, can you recap them? Yes, so for additional stuns, so you get stunned once, additional stuns will be halved if that halved number is more than the amount of time left on the first stun, you will get that additional stun, and the old one will be removed, so that's super confusing. But there's an entire article on it. But the other point is, guys, it's barely on super test. Changes can happen to it. So please submit your feedback on what you think about it, and we will definitely go through and read over them. So, there you go.
Alright, I'm checking the integrity of my game files.
We will not remove Artie, guys. Or at least in the foreseeable future. I don't think we'll ever remove Artie. It's way too ingrained in the World of Tanks game economy. So we would have to not only redesign maps, we would also possibly have to redesign a lot of tanks. Especially ones that are like hull-down monsters. So.
Yeah, Artie's not getting removed anytime soon, guys. Any changes that are happening is... If you know the World of Tanks devs, you know that they're very data-focused. Some people would argue to their detriment. That's their opinion. If there's already changes that are happening, it's because it's for a good reason. And I would say, like, hold off until you get a chance to actually experience them before you write it off as like saying we want to get rid of Artie. We don't want to get rid of Artie. Some people do. There's certainly some people out there who want to get rid of it. But World of Tanks as a product, as a piece of software, as a game, is not going to be removing artillery. But that doesn't mean it can't be improved, and that doesn't mean the overall balance can't be improved.
Which we are trying to actively work on. So if you have any suggestions, we highly encourage them. Please be constructive. Don't just say fix Artie, because there's a lot of even amongst players, there are a lot of different ways that people want to quote-unquote fix Artie, and they're all different, so you keep that in mind. We have to consider everybody's feedback. We also have to consider what might be better for gameplay versus better for individual or small groups of people. So.
Michael
not expecting to hit that.
Michael on Facebook says, need to increase the damage and accuracy
it's fine,
for
Jeff.
direct hits.
You're just passionate.
If you are decreasing the damage to the splash area, Michael, that might be a very valid change to make. It's certainly part of the feedback that we will submit to the team on. As of right now, Domo right now is compiling a feedback report regarding what you guys think of the proposed Artie changes. So I'm sure that we'll make it on the report.
How does HE mouse work? Is HE mouse okay?
I've heard about the HE 100. I haven't heard about the HE mouse.
125 damage. Let's go.
I see some people in chat lobbying for the return of the old Artie, shooting AP and dropping 1500 damage and all that stuff. Matthew says, "Cabbage, that monster drink will rot your teeth." Matthew, you're entirely right. You shouldn't drink energy drinks. I happen to be in need of some caffeine because my dog kept me up last night. She's going through a
rough patch.
Yeah, she's taking meds
rough
for
patch. Okay, I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, don't drink energy drinks, kids. I'm just a caffeine addict, and I need a little bit to get me through the afternoon here. But I definitely don't endorse them. I recommend you stay away from caffeine as a whole. Mary says, I think Jingles called it the Heat 100. I would agree with Jingles 100% on that.
I'm just gonna shoot HE at this guy.
Owning the E100, you shoot a lot of premium if you want to maximize the tank. Unfortunately, that's the way the tank is now. That's probably one of the reasons it's been singled out to get a buff.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Yeah. How did our... Ooh, nice. Attack. How do I say attack? Attack.
Yeah, and just in general, like, none of my lifestyle habits should be adopted by people looking to live a healthy life. Just to be clear.
Oh god, that's a 4005.
James on Facebook says, I'm still waiting for Wargaming to remove the nerf they put on the KV-1S. It was a beast.
Oh my god, I missed that. But it was also super overpowered, guys.
It was a beast. It was hilariously overpowered.
That, like, you guys are always just like, hey, why don't you guys bring back this? Because it was overpowered. Everyone remembers it because it was overpowered.
Yeah, James
like,
on...
specifically.
Or no, sorry, Dan on YouTube says coffee, coffee, coffee. I didn't have any cold coffee available, and trust me, drinking hot coffee in this room would not be a fun experience for anyone. Hyper Turtle says, try my Diet Cabbage, Mountain Dew, and Skittles.
Wow, no.
Yeah, I don't recommend that. I don't recommend that diet.
I don't recommend following his instructions at all. Any chance for a Canadian tree?
Lazy Paw. I can't read that comment, but I saw it and I think it's hilarious.
Wait, where? Where?
There.
I want to see it. Oh.
Scum of the Earth.
There's like 10 people over. There's like 5 tanks just right there.
Oh, get him. Okay,
Oh,
well,
hello.
I finished my integrity check, so hopefully my game will work now.
Ooh.
Scum of the Earth says, if you don't drink Mountain Dew, you can't be an epic gamer. I think we can all see the goods outweigh the bads. Scum of the Earth, renowned good guy and friend of the stream, dropping some knowledge there. You can't be an epic
honestly,
gamer without Mountain Dew.
I feel like I honestly am just always happy about the fact that he's such a great guy with such a terrible name. Aw. Mouse accuracy is failing.
Alright, I'm gonna try and catch some of these.
Catch these hands, high five.
Can I get a duck skin for my duck? That's almost, like, Anthony, that's almost definitely gonna happen. Like, just, it has to happen. If it's not already going to happen, I promise you we will make it happen.
I'm pretty sure there's a mod for that.
We'll get a real one for sure. Ian on Facebook asked, "What are your thoughts on wheeled tanks, Tragic and Cabbage?" You wanna...
I think they're really interesting. I've definitely been seeing a lot less of them. I think there's one on the enemy team. But in general, they're pretty interesting tanks. They definitely add an interesting, I guess, avoidance for a lot of people. Them being able to go so quickly to the back lines is definitely something I think people should start watching out for a lot more. But otherwise, I think they add a great mechanic to the game.
Yeah,
they're really fun to watch explode and flip all the way around.
The ragdolling, or I guess it's not ragdolling,
yeah.
but it's just what I'm used to saying for gaming. I think the wheeled tanks are, it's hard to say, have like a long-term view on them right now. It does appear like in certain areas that they're radically changing the game. Some people don't think it's for the better, some people do. I'm pretty optimistic right now. I think they're going to turn out all right. I think the bigger issue that they're uncovering is that there's some severe issues with higher tier light tanks, especially tier 10 light tanks. So I think some of the issues that people have with the wheeled vehicles are actually about problems with the light vehicle. That's my personal take, but I think for the most part the wheeled vehicles are going to work out and add something cool.
Can I find what in the menu? Tragic yeeted that shot for the Peugeot. I did. I tried. I was hoping. I was very hopeful.
There was another one I needed.
Need some driving lessons and some time on the range. Maybe. Ooh.
Yeah, I saw someone just like some tank suggestions dropped in chat. Somebody mentioned the German Rat, and
for
somebody
free.
else.
Get on my server.
The T18 Boarhound would be fun. I gotcha. All cool ideas.
I invited you to mine. Not you.
Oh, I was gonna say I'm gonna have to uninstall the game. I don't know.
Will there be any new tech trees or nations? Most definitely. Always. We're always looking to add more nations and more tech trees. Like we literally just added the French wheeled vehicles. So blueprint says Todd Booth.
They are clown cars, not tanks. I mean, they're armored cars, not clown cars. But yeah, you're right. They're not tanks. Jeff on YouTube asked if we can give him the Panzer V4. Sadly, I cannot. I will say that the Panzer V4 is not as good as it was before the move to the HD model. The turret used to be ridiculously strong, and now it's brought down to reasonableness.
Are you guys gonna go more modern? Probably not. Almost all of the tanks are very World War II, World War One, and within that, like, there's a small margin, possibly.
Yeah. the story on timeline right now is World of Tanks runs from the beginning of Tanks to essentially the early Cold War era. So somebody just mentioned M1 Abrams. Tanks like the M1 Abrams and the more advanced M60s don't fit in the World of Tanks timeline. Yesterday I talked about the Chieftain Mark VI. That's sort of the problem we have with the Chieftain Mark VI right now, is it's too advanced for the timeline of the existing game. So it's unlikely that the existing World of Tanks is going to add more modern. That doesn't mean that Wargaming will not ever look at that era and do something with it, but the existing World of Tanks, it's unlikely.
Just reiterating, guys, we have a lot of questions. We are trying to answer all of them. If your question does not get answered, please just repeat it. We will try and get to it at some point. Some questions need longer answers, and so we are trying to fully expand on those without just, like, you know, vomiting information on you guys.
Banana Cannon says he can't say re, apparently. Should we ban re?
The reason why re is banned is because you have too many E's.
The letter span.
I think you can have a maximum of 3 additional E's.
Oh, so you can just do
like a re?
Not even a real re.
Not a re!
That's not very satisfying. I can see why that'd be
frustrating. I know.
By the way,
Short
Banana Cannon,
only.
make sure to message 1984 Big Brother for those sweet, sweet Sturm Tiger codes. Scum of the Earth says, I recently bought a 90mm shell casing. Besides the Hellcat, did any American tanks mount a 90mm in World War II? Oh, that's a Chieftain question. Oh gosh. I don't know off the top of my head, man. I'm sorry. You need a military historian for that. And as I've said before on the stream, I do have a degree in history, but I'm not a military historian. You need to make
rework.
you
Hyper Turtle.
You need the Chieftain. There we go. Did we enable? Oh, you can re on YouTube, but not.
You can
on
re
Twitch.
on YouTube. Thanks, guys. You can re on YouTube.
Good. I think I lost these. Okay, Bjorn says
Glad
the Pershing
you
did.
figured it out.
Do you know if the first Pershing, for example, the Eagle 7, does that have a 90mm, Bjorn? I honestly don't know.
We cannot change the date on your account.
Kermit says the Hellcat didn't use the 90 in real life. I think that's true. Mary says one thing being uncool about the physics is to flip the tank sideways and get stuck for the rest of the game. Yeah, I hear you on that one, Mary. You gotta try and get some help from your teammates to push you back over. I will say it's a lot harder to flip a tank in World of Tanks than it is in real life, which might surprise some people to hear, but it's true. Physics are crazy, and when you have something that weighs 40 tons, once it starts moving in a direction, it's very likely to continue moving in that direction.
Oh, I forgot I had 4 free on my platoon.
Did you just leave him?
I did.
Oh no.
I did. I'm
You
so sorry.
didn't spec for free. That's so rude.
I didn't. I forgot. I forgot we were platooning. Or free, just die.
Matthew on YouTube is asking, what are the chances of me being able to port my tanks from the Xbox version of the PC? I hear you, Matt. I understand why you find that frustrating. We say this a lot on the stream, but I'm happy to do it again. Console and PC are 2 entirely separate games with 2 entirely separate backends and 2 entirely separate development and publishing teams. So there's no chance of transferring progress from one to the other. They're both World of Tanks, but for all in actual practical purposes, they're 2 entirely separate games. But I do understand why that would be frustrating. That said, I think if you start playing on PC, you might find it more enjoyable.
Ooh. Lorraine's fun.
There is a Russian video of a guy flipping his possibly.
Yes, we are going to fix the top tier games. So guys, we are reworking Matchmaker. We know the frustration with getting tier 10 matches in your tier 8. We are trying to adjust that.
Now he's for re.
For re-ink.
Luca wants to see the Defender, the 252.
Maybe. Only because you recommended it. Because heat from Leopard.
Mary asks if Bootcamp hasn't been upgraded or extended compared to before. Depends on from what frame of reference you're operating. So there has been extensions and upgrades to boot camp, but I don't know from when you're comparing to.
Someone had a question that I saw, and I wanted to answer it. Sorry. Sorry. Oh.
Yeah, Cryptic
What's the
mentions
ETA on the new matchmaker? Very soon. Like, sooner than you think.
It's soon enough that we've been running live tests.
Yeah.
On the EU and the
Okay,
APEX servers. Actually, all the servers except NA have gotten some sort of live test.
Milson, your cursor is moving slow. I highly recommend going into settings, going into controls, and adjusting the sensitivity on your arcade and sniper aim. I have sniper aim all the way down because if I'm zoomed in, I don't want it to be jumping everywhere. But if I'm zoomed out, I want to be able to move around a lot more easily. So I have it way higher than maybe it should.
Quantum on Twitch has a question about power creep. Is there anything in the works to address the balance issues? Yes.
Very easy question.
In short, yes, there is a rebalance plan to help some of those tanks that have been a bit left behind by the power creep's a really hard thing to deal with in games, guys. I know it's from the outside looking in, and this is something that I was really guilty of before I started working in the game industry of as a hardcore competitive FPS player. It's really hard to not power creep and still create interesting things that people want to play.
Yeah, because people want the stronger stuff always.
Obviously, it has to be kept in check and reined in, but to some extent, power creep is actually unavoidable. As far as bringing some of those tanks that have been left behind up to speed, though, yes, absolutely, that's going to happen. Roman asks, when is the stream in? It's going to be 6 p.m. Central, so about 30 minutes from now.
Oh no, I wasn't.
Also, somebody mentioned earlier that they think the T-34 US heavy tank is now the worst premium tier 8. Wrong. The CDC, the AMX CDC is the worst tier 8 premium tank. That's just my opinion. Somebody else probably has a better argument for another one. But yeah, those are both also some premium tanks that could use some love. I think a good example is like the low got buffed, or the I think the low's in a really good place now since compared to where it was pre-buff. So hopefully a lot of those older tanks will receive similar attention. Michael on Facebook says it would be cool if during the month of July you could have a round that goes off like Starburst fireworks. Yeah, Michael, that's a cool idea. That would be awesome. Milson says, thank you so much. Been playing since 2010. That's awesome. We appreciate it, Milson. That's real cool. I've also been playing since 2010. So, although I'll be fairness, I took a few years off in the middle.
I don't know how I didn't die. I think I had terrible pen.
Mummy85 says, buff the Panzer IIJ. Nope, probably not. Quantum says, I totally understand that power creep is somewhat unavoidable. Lately, all the power creep has been in the form of monetized content. I disagree with you on that, Quantum, and let me point something out. The STRV line is all tech tree, and those tank destroyers are really strong and have absolutely power crept some of the old tank destroyers. The Italian lines have been very successful,
free, I'll platoon you again.
And also the tier 10 is obviously free content. So, not saying it hasn't happened with premium tanks, and I totally understand people who find it frustrating when premium tanks are better than the tech tree alternatives. And there has been power creep there, but it hasn't all been monetized.
So guys, overall coverage of any question you have about rebalancing specific tanks. We are working on a rebalance of all tiers, starting with 5 specific tanks, which is the E100, the Leopard 1, the IS-4, the STV-1, and the Kranvang. You can see how many times I've repeated that because I know them all by heart now. So, and someone did request the Defender / object to...
For Free asks, where are all the alpha testers? I don't see anyone with the alpha badge next to their name. My understanding of that is
we don't have any on NA, I
there's
believe.
just, yeah, there's just, it wasn't...
I don't think there's even one, because almost all of NA was only available... Like, I think Russia was the only server that
maybe
had
even just Belarus,
alpha.
When World of Tanks was first made, Wargaming was not the global corporate, you know, the global corporation it is now.
2011 is when it launched in America, but I don't even think we had an office until... So it was beta tested in 2010, and then it was launched in NA, I believe, in 2011, and that's when we actually had an NA office. And so they're definitely, you know, beta testers, but I don't think there are any alpha testers unless someone created an alpha account on, an alpha account on the CIS server and then just continually played on CIS.
Kiesari on Twitch wants you to repeat the 5 tanks again that are going to get buffed.
E100, Leopard 1, STB 1, Cran Vang, and E100.
IS4.
IS4.
Or, you said it, I think.
Okay.
Anyway, those ones. Jonathan says, you keep upgrading the graphics and I will soon need a $2,000 PC just to run it. You shouldn't, Jonathan. I mean, if you run the standard definition client, you really shouldn't need a very powerful rig at all. One of the cool things about 1.0 is we actually spent a lot of time making sure it did run fine on older systems.
Optimization, woo!
Hopefully you can get that figured out if you are having a technical issue. But it really, to hit the minimum requirements, you really don't have to have a very powerful system. If you want it to look as good as it can, yeah.
You don't know them by heart. Ouch.
You do.
Ouch. It hurts. I was around when Gravity and Tank treads were animated. Will either of you be in Boston next weekend? Actually, yes.
Yep.
We're planning on attending the American Heritage Museum. We'll also be at PAX East for like one day. But our focus is mostly on the American Heritage Museum. If you guys didn't see it, I will tell you about it now. Unfortunately, I don't believe we have any spots left. But if you saw the post, we have an exclusive tour of the American Heritage Museum before it is opened to the public, which I think is pretty snazzy.
Joshua says, "Look up." Sorry, I'm looking down. I'm trying to read all the chat.
Oh.
I think that's what he's talking about.
I thought he just meant look up, and I was like,
yeah,
at the ceiling?
The chat's over here, so that's why I'm always over here.
Yeah.
Chris says, this garage is boring. Can we have a new one, please?
I mean, there are mods to change that.
This one's so much cooler than the old one, though.
Yeah.
Tommy on Facebook says, hey, everyone. Hey, Tommy, thanks for stopping by. Joseph says, I started playing in 2011, but took some time off as well. Looking forward to playing again. Awesome, Joseph. Good to hear. Matthew says, I built my computer just for this game in 2010. That's really cool, Matt. It is, that was 9 years ago, which in computer years is like 100 years.
Oh, man.
Wild Bill Cox says that he was a beta tester and was proud to receive the T-52. That's awesome. The T-52 was a really cool prize. I'm happy you enjoyed it. Our dev team was really excited to bring it back as well.
I didn't even know there was. I thought that's just a bridge. That's just a train bridge. No dam on this map.
What's the difference between playing on my tablet and a PC? And yes, I drove a tank in the Army and M1A1 Abrams. That's awesome, Joshua. Thank you for your service. The difference is if you're playing on a tablet, unless it's like a Surface or something, you're probably playing World of Tanks Blitz, which is it's a mobile. It's on Steam and you can get it on tablet, but it's a mobile version of World of Tanks. It's a 7v7. It's a smaller scale. The graphics aren't impressive because it has to run on less powerful devices, obviously.
But you can play Blitz on
Steam. Yep, PC, via Steam.
Or the Microsoft Store, actually.
Blitz is an entirely different game, but it is still World of Tanks. We've been talking about that a lot this stream. Console World of Tanks Blitz, and World of Tanks PC are 3 separate games, even though they're all World of Tanks and they're all very similar. Darren says, hello from Canada. Hey, Darren.
Hello, Canada.
Is it easy to play on Linux these days? Daniel, I honestly don't know.
That is a lot of tanks. Hi.
I suspect it should still run under one, but I don't know. Ian says, buff the Tiger 1. Okay.
We will.
I
at
would
some
like to.
point, probably. Guys, overall comment about buffing and or nerfing tanks. We are doing an overall rebalance of every tank across all of the tank tech trees.
Jonathan,
do you like my hand motions?
Jonathan says he's playing Blitz on his phone
Clip
because
that,
he doesn't
somebody.
have his PC. That's nice. RJ says, RJ and Gabby, I think it's a shared Facebook account. Brad Pitt's tank is the best. Can you play the Fury?
I could play the Fury.
All right.
Let's
Yeah,
just
you know, I'm not playing right now.
watching
My
for
computer's down for the count, so I'm just hanging out. Jonathan on YouTube asked, when can we expect the awful Panther back? I don't know at this time. We did test a version of it on the super tests, but it didn't work out the way they were hoping, so it doesn't look like that version is going to come out. Doesn't mean it's not going to return, but at this time I have no news on when it might return.
He has an interesting gun on its side.
Does he?
Yeah, it's purple and blue.
Oh, all right. Look at that paint job. Magnificent.
And now it's gone. Alright, back to garage. Alright. Thunderbolt or Fury? Ooh.
Joshua says it's not Blitz, just World of Tanks on the Google Store.
Not accepting friend requests.
I'm not sure, Jonathan. I'd have to look. As far as I'm aware, you can't get the PC client from the Google Store, but I could very well be wrong on that. There's a lot of a big footprint. Vancouver Scrub on Twitch says the Thunderbolt is better than the Fury. They're pretty close, at least. It might be possible that one has a minor advantage, but they're very close.
Pick the Fury.
Axis says you had a great usage of jazz hands.
Thanks. I didn't think they were jazzy, but hey.
Roro asks, when will the tank's overall rework come out? We honestly don't know, Roro. It is supposed to happen at some point this year, is specific to have right now. Vincent on YouTube asks how NA players can join the Super Test. Vincent, that's something I'm working on right now. At this time, there is no English support for the Super Test, and we don't have administrative access to the Super Test. But we are looking into options for bringing that back. Because we know we would like to get some NA and English-speaking EU players.
Tragic hands.
Cryptic is getting me pretty good.
Yeah. He hasn't died or lost any games.
It's true. I haven't lost any games today. TS Dean would like you to play the Archer. Been having some...
I could do that. Really interesting.
That's the tank that goes faster backwards.
Don't forget,
forwards, right?
it's a 40% XP conversion rate this weekend. Yeah,
yep.
So if you're trying to convert XP, do it now.
Yeah, and a quick review of that. We have a ×3 for your first win on any given vehicle, and as well as a XP conversion sale. So if you have been saving up some free XP, now is the most efficient time ever to convert that free XP.
So I actually saw a post about that, Anthony Novella. Essentially, there was a Nashorn that was in a garage that a bunch of guys were rebuilding. I believe the garage burned down and took a lot, or like, I think something like 50 to 60% of the Nashorn with it.
Oh no.
And essentially, it was probably like several $1,000, like many thousands of dollars worth of time and investment monies into building it. Unfortunately, they lost it. So, I feel for them, definitely.
Yeah, that is horrible, Anthony. I will say, if we do for those of you who don't know, Wargaming frequently donates money.
Know where the rest of my...
Wargaming frequently donates money to historical vehicle restoration projects. We've dug T-34s out of rivers in Eastern Europe. We've restored AC-1 Sentinels in Australia. We've helped move existing collections in the United States. If we do something with those fellows building a Nashorn, it'll probably be through Wargaming EU. Right now, our largest project that we're working on here is our World of Warships NA team has been running a big event to raise money for the USS Texas.
Yeah.
Which is a battleship. It's not a tank, so
Honor
apologies
system?
for all that. But if you are interested in the restoration of historical vehicles, definitely check out the USS Texas.
Are bad. Okay.
They are also they had a lot of problems with the hurricanes last year. They've had to spend a lot of money getting the ship back, even to like a minimum acceptable standard as opposed to a dangerous one. So that is where Wargaming NA has been focused recently as far as our historical vehicle restorations.
That's too
Mr. Tiger says, too bad you're doing this at the end of the month. I'm broke now. I hear you, Tiger. I'll pass that on to the event planners, guys.
That'd be interesting to do.
Oh, Cryptic says, don't forget that 1 free XP equals 10 crew XP special, too. Yeah, it's a nice one.
Yeah.
Roman Dude wants to platoon with you.
Yeah. Happy hippies.
Milton says, too bad Wargaming will never listen to us artillery players, but only to the people who can't play against it. I'll say, Milton, I understand where you're coming from, but our developers, for better or worse, listen to data above all else. So if the data is not backing up what people are saying, it's unlikely that they would act on that. So they might, if they are making changes, there's a data-based reason for it. Almost definitely.
Where can I find the New Year given discount for tanks? I don't actually know where you can find your discount that you applied to your tank during the New Year event.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think that may have expired.
I might.
Yeah. I'm not sure off the top of my head, Pavlos. Yeah. We have to look that up. In the meantime, Pavlos, you'd probably be best off submitting a customer support ticket. B-Ted, hey, B-Ted's in chat. B-Ted says, for our information, Wargaming has donated and helped raise over $400,000 for the USS Texas. So, there you go. Shout out to B-Ted and the rest of the World of Warships team for helping make that happen.
Can you play the KV4? Yeah, I can play. Oh, I need more money. I may or may not be laundering money.
What are you doing?
By using gold.
Oh, with all the ridiculous amount of gold on your sheriff account here?
Yeah. Laundering money through gold.
Yeah, Anthony, I mean, we're happy to help any way you can. I personally don't get to decide that stuff, but I'm always happy to hear and try and help when something like that happens. All I see are ME-109s and Sturmovich aircraft. Can we see some Spitfires and Mustangs? Wait, what are...
What?
Are you talking about the planes that fly overhead in game, I think?
Maybe.
I hear you. Well, you probably wouldn't see Mustangs because the planes you see overhead are really low altitude, and if you know your history, the P-51 is definitely a high altitude escort fighter. So you're probably not going to see it down low unless it's near the airstrip.
Thank you for mentioning them and the Nashorn. Just by talking about it, they will be receiving publicity. Love your game. Keep up the great work. Thank you. I know it often seems like we don't tell you guys things, but we do try to tell you guys as much information as possible. It's one of the reasons why we do these streams, is so we can actively answer questions that you guys have, and address issues specifically to you guys. And sometimes, as some of you may have seen yesterday, we did kind of tease the already stun rework that was announced today, which highly recommend you guys check it out. Do give us any feedback that you have. Don't just say fix artillery. Give us things to go off of, like, hey, can you guys lower the amount that the stun debuff is to like 20% or something like that. That's way better to go off of than fix arty, because that gives us nothing. You could give us a broken TV and say fix it, and we would have to go through and try and figure out what exactly is wrong with it. So,
John Joe says, any news on a gold league? Unfortunately, John, no. We are looking at options for competitive play, but at this time, gold league is not going to return in its previous iteration. One of the problems we ran into with competitive, I'm sure we probably have some former WGLNA players lurking around. One of the problems we had is just that if you look at other games esports, the game that the professionals play is very closely related to the game that everyone else plays. And the problem that we always had in World of Tanks and never got over, and that's on us, is the 7v7 format from WGL was just totally alien to the rest of the player base, and so they couldn't identify with it, and that was a serious problem between the two. So when and if we focus on competitive, there's definitely going to be an emphasis on having something that the average player can relate to, because without that, it kind of becomes a really niche community, which isn't a bad thing. For better or worse, the competitive niche of World of Tanks exists, and has had a lot of really awesome, cool events. But Gold League is
inaccessible.
It's not going to come back in the same way it was. I did see somebody mentioned earlier about why doesn't World of Tanks have the same PvE modes that World of Warships does, and Sugar on Twitch is now asking, ever thought about historic battlefields? Oh, that's for competition, sorry. That would be cool, Sugar. Let me rewind to that. I just want to say to the PvE thing, we do have PvE modes coming soon, so keep an eye out. We've been testing them over the past few years with Halloween modes and stuff like that, and we're now about ready to release some pretty cool real ones. More details on those to come in the future, but you'll see them sometime this year for sure.
Focus on Clan Wars. We actually have Big Brother, or 1984 Big Brother working on Clan Wars stuff, so any suggestions would definitely go straight to him. Also ask him for 907 codes. I think he stole them back from you, which is why you don't have them. Sorry.
Oh, good. Oh, is that why my game's not working?
Yeah. I hate me so much.
Tragic Packet... Hey, Monty's here. Tragic Packet Loss, Cabbage Roll Mechanic, White Wolf Mary and all. Hello, Monty.
Hi, Monty.
Trigger says, I actually have used Watt as a training aid for my heavy weapons unit. Very effective. Trigger, I'm fascinated by that. I'm assuming mostly a positioning thing, like covering each other as you move. I could see it being somewhat useful for that. I certainly not like a realistic combat simulator. Banana Cannon, who by the way is very qualified to talk about this subject, says the big issue of Clan Wars is the gigantically long breaks between seasons and events. It's strangling top and middle tier clans especially, and the advances are a poor substitute. I hear you on that one. All of our clan stuff now goes through 1984 Big Brother, so I'm sure that you've already said that to him, and I think I've actually heard him say that as well. So hopefully we're able to come to some sort of improvement and resolution. Trigger says, I've used it to develop situational awareness of armor weapons. Okay.
Oh, I'm on fire. Oh, my crew's dead. No, I'm dead.
Yeah, I wish I had more to share with you guys on that, but that's as much information as I actually have and can share.
Can we make it so that a single player can go into a training room? We actually went over this. Essentially, each match is an arena, and each training room is an arena. If we allow training rooms to also be created with only one single person, that'll most likely create a huge number of arenas, and that would strain the server to high heck and back.
Yeah, so essentially...
Is this Xbox? No.
It would be really cool to have the ability to launch your own training room.
Yes.
Until we develop a technical solution that allows you to do it without creating an arena on the game server, it's not going to be possible.
Yeah. Could create a separate client, maybe. That would be interesting.
Chris says that'd be cool if we could go into training rooms on. Yeah, that'd be.
Someone needs to intake massive amounts of testosterone.
I'm not
sure what that means.
What that is talking about, yeah.
Literally not sure what that means.
Nicholas says, when is the next deputy weekend? It was a blast. I want to do it again.
Hashtag soon.
Probably
Tell us
May.
when Tank Rewards is coming back. Real soon. We are working on Tank Rewards 2.0.
So
it's in the works currently. It needs to be redeveloped because the original person who created it no longer works for us.
Yeah. So the Tank Awards is actually being developed right now, or the new version.
Redeveloped, technically.
Well, I mean, this version is being developed for the first time since the other one was just a web client. So it's the only reason we can't give you a date is because development is a bit of a fickle beast. So I don't have an accurate enough prediction to share yet.
DJ, single player training arena launch player side is a basic system. Yes, for any game that was developed like within the last couple of years, but World of Tanks is a more than 5-year-old game, and we are mostly server side, so all calculations done in our game is server side. And so the reason why arenas are server side is so the game can calculate all of the things, including vision mechanics and penetration mechanics. So there's lots of things that are done server side. Launching it player side would mean that actually people would be able to change a lot of the actual systems.
I mean, you are right though.
But it would be easy.
It would be great. We would love to have it. There's always a question of we have a limited amount of development resources, so we have to prioritize what we spend them on.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, one of the things that seems to get consistently kicked to the curb in favor of things that are more urgent is stuff like that.
Essentially, some
single
quality
player
of life.
yeah.
Like, there's a lot of things we would like to do, but we just don't have the bandwidth to do them.
Jonathan says, "Tell us when Meathead is coming back as a guest." Man, as soon as he wants. To be honest, Meathead is very busy at his new job.
He hates us. It's fine.
I don't think he hates us. He might hate us secretly.
Secretly.
Yeah, he's a super busy guy. And
this is the last match. It's solo YOLO, but understood. I really like. For some reason, I like the entirety of his comment. The joy is with a single player who cares about pen or vision. It's solo YOLO, but understood. Yeah.
Todd on Facebook asks, "Is the RNG truly RNG, or are there tweaks?" Hey, Todd.
Our platoon is a little cancerous.
Is it? What are you running?
2 mouse and a Type 5.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Well,
sorry.
As long as it's not 3 Type 5s. Okay, so I want to answer Todd's question about RNG. The short answer is there's no such thing, and this is purely a philosophical answer to start with. There's no such thing as true random number generation out of a computer. That's something that, as far as I'm aware, they're not capable of doing yet. That said, it is as close to RNG. It is as RNG can be. There are no tweaks as far as usually the things that people say. Usually they use the word rig, but that RNG works better for
Unicums.
Or the game will intentionally feed you good RNG or bad RNG.
Yeah.
That's not the case. The RNG always works the same. You will have streaks of good and bad luck with it, just like you would if you flipped a coin 100 times. You get a streak of heads, get a streak of tails. But each time you roll on the RNG, it is random and there are not tweaks. At the very least, I have been told that with a straight face by the developers. So unless they're lying to me, which I don't think they are, yes, the RNG has no tweaks. You're always rolling on the same table.
We don't have a button that says rig RNG for specific player or rig RNG for Unicums.
And by the way, that would be an incredibly difficult thing to create.
Someone was like, can grand battles be turned off?
Bravo says we lie.
Yes, grand battles can be turned off.
We don't. Lies, it's all
guys,
lies.
We try to be very aggressively truthful about everything that we say on this stream, which is why we say things like, we can't answer that because it's under NDA,
well, I mean,
or we can't answer it because we just don't know anything about it.
I'll be honest, that's something that I know intellectually, but there's still times that I feel like it's being rigged against me. So I can hardly blame people for feeling that way. But I have been assured that
full 30v30.
That it is definitely
all these are
as RNG as we are capable of making it, which is to say, if you know stuff about programming, you know that an actual random number generator isn't possible. Here we go. Banana Cannon has some thoughts on it. As someone who does have a computer science degree, a random number generator is only as random as its seed, but it's essentially random. That said, different tanks have different distributions of the shell from center, and there is a high chance of a shell going dead center, even when full bloom by design.
Yep.
There you go. I think that's a solid write-up.
Yeah.
Battle of the Bulge map, please. That would be awesome, Jeff. We should get one of those. A nice, Bastogne map.
We already have essentially a Normandy map, which is Overlord.
I will 100% shill the devs for a Bastogne map. Jonathan Larkby says, "Where did you obtain your degree from?" I'd rather not share that, Jonathan.
That's a little personal.
Yeah, it's not a hot top-end university. I'm not...
B-Ted is on the other team.
Is he really?
Yeah,
is he coming in with you?
He's in a 60 TV.
But it's from a state university in the Pacific Northwest, and I have a degree in history, a bachelor's degree in history. But my focus is very much political and foreign relations history, which is why you won't find me like many of you who are World War II geniuses, who have the dictionary or the encyclopedic memory of different tank guns and shells and all that stuff. I don't have that. It is not part of my degree at all. That's one of the reasons that I rely on the chieftain. Because he is a military historian and a freaking incredible one at that. I have to try not to swear sometimes, guys.
Yeah. That's the lawyer will get me.
Well, the lawyer, I think some of the channels we stream to might get mad. We don't have mature language selected.
Hi, Ted.
That's an interesting conspiracy theory.
What?
Right here.
Oh.
What?
TragicLoss used to be a younger white kid. What? What conspiracy theory is that?
Joseph
really
on Facebook says, "I live in the Pacific Northwest. I'm currently in Oregon." That's awesome. Oregon's great. I spent a lot of time in Oregon. Luke says, "I'm near Spokane." That's also awesome. I have some friends in Spokane. I've also spent a lot of time near there. So good luck figuring it out. Is it... Oh, whoa, okay. Hold on, Mary's getting deep here. I want to give full credit. Alright, so... Banana Cannon says you learn more about World War II off YouTube videos and documentaries than a college course unless you're fortunate to have access to first and second person sources like Chieftain does. That's probably true, especially for like specialized stuff, Banana Cannon, but you'd be surprised there are some military history programs out there that get pretty in-depth and probably have access to some of those same sources that you mentioned Chieftain getting access to. B-Ted's back and says, "What?" Jonathan came back and said, "Wait, where did he get his degree from?" I said it's a state university in the Pacific Northwest. I just have a bachelor's. I'm not a fancy master's or doctorate. There we go. We got a lot of people popping up from Oregon. That's awesome. Oregon is legitimately one of my favorite states. I have some family in Southern Oregon, and I really love it down there. Banana Cannon says, "So University of Washington got it." Nope. You probably won't get it. And now we're gonna play guess where Cabbage went to school, I guess. B-Ted says, "Look at the ones like the War College that are available to the public. Same for the Naval War College classes." Yeah, there you go. Chris on Facebook says, "I have a wacky but cool idea. In Strongholds, we should be able to capture enemy tanks and then not let them play that tank for an hour."
Clan Wars used to be.
That is a wacky but cool idea.
Essentially, you locked a tank battle. Wasn't super fun for a lot of people. Ooh, I wasn't expecting to get that one. It wasn't real great for a lot of people because sometimes it was bad for newer players because they have less tanks to play, and so that really restricted the amount of people that could be playing to a lot less. Wow, this is actually...
Oh, sorry, Mary. You're right. I didn't finish your thought.
Oh.
Okay. Is it far out crazy wanting to lead the way to change the player base as an attitude in-game managing and mingling and so on? Yeah, to some extent it is crazy. But it doesn't mean you can't try.
Yeah.
I think creating a culture, especially for a community, is a really difficult thing to do because a lot of that stuff that happens is it's really organic and really
hashtag sociology. Oh my god.
There you go. But I will say, despite all of the toxicity in the World of Tanks community, it's
Metal Soup. I am reporting you for physics abuse.
Okay. It's the World of Tanks community is not the worst I've been a part of. So I'm not saying we can't make improvements. I hope that all of you try and set a good example for your fellow players and create a culture of relative positivity and helpfulness and generally being cool dudes. But it's hard to start.
To get a 907 code, message 1984 Big Brother.
Banana Cannon went to UC Davis with all the cow poo smell included. Oh, that's awesome. A lot of my friends went to UC Davis actually.
All right, that's just about the end of the
Holy
stream.
Crap! Yeah.
We've been on for 2 hours, and
I didn't get to play it all.
Yeah, some of us would like to go.
CabbageMechanic goes down.
No losses.
Undefeated.
No losses for 2 hours.
Undefeated. March 22nd. Mark it in your calendars. The best.
Anyways, guys, that is just about the end of the stream. We hope we had a lot of good information to give to you guys. We will be back on Tuesday next week, so please join. Bring your friends. We do try to answer every question that comes in, whether it's controversial or not. We accept all questions. We might not be able to give you great answers, depending upon what you're asking. So if it's about the future of the game, we might not have definitive answers, but we can answer as much as we can. Please do come back. We appreciate your guys' constant questions. We do try to answer everything we can. We can't always get to all of them because there are so many of you with so many fantastic questions. We appreciate anybody who did submit a question today. If we didn't get to it, please join us back on Tuesday and we will absolutely try to answer you then. Any closing words from CabbageMechanic, Senior Community Manager, aka not Meathead Militia?
I never did tell you about that tank.
No,
oh yeah, I forgot about that comment.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for stopping by. As always, we really appreciate you guys supporting the game. We appreciate you guys coming and watching the stream. It means a lot to us. We really do put ourselves out there and try and give you guys the best information we can.
Yeah, you guys grill us pretty hard sometimes.
Yeah. Thank you again to all of you. We will see you next Tuesday, but we're not going to be here next Thursday. As some people mentioned in chat, we are going to be in Boston. Dark Blue Ink. Looking forward to seeing you.
Next Thursday we won't be here.
Right. So we will miss next Thursday's stream. We're going to be at PAX East and then the American Heritage Museum, and then we'll be back again the week after that. So again, thank you all very much. Spend some time with your family, do some cool stuff, play some World of Tanks, and have a great night.
Bye guys. Thank you.